anxietycenter.com.
Yes, I think I'm back online, Jim.
Oh, good. Yeah, I don't know why that does that. Sometimes people just drop out, and I don't know why my mic mutes all by itself. Who knows? But oh well, we'll figure it out. Eh? Did you have a?
I can talk if nobody else wants to.
We have one more person on the call, but I'd certainly like to get to that call as well. But we certainly have time.
Okay. Well, I talked to you last month, and I was working in the hospital. And by the way, you made a lot of really good points that really I really took seriously. The main one being, we can't expect. I can't expect myself to live at breakneck speed and my body not take a hit for that.
Yeah.
And definitely I've had times where my anxiety was so bad. I for sure, I could have even done counseling. It was just beyond. And so you made the comment, you said, but should that be the standard? No, probably not. Anyway, I ended up quitting. They tried to keep me working. In fact, I couldn't even go in there and talk to my boss. I actually wrote her a letter. I just knew that would send me into just panic, and then I would get talked into staying, and we'll just work you, big talking. We'll just work you 1 day a week, or how about an 8-hour shift, or it just would have been. I know nursing well enough to know the.
Yeah.
And anyway, so Stacy warned me that I'd get way worse. That was true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I remember from dealing when I was really bad with. I remember. It's funny the symptoms that we all like. It helps me to hear other people talk about the symptoms that they obsess over, because I obsess over the eye stuff. Which is bizarre. I've seen people have panic attacks, and I know it's just, but I still, I have to work at extinguishing those fears and doing a lot of containment, and this is just part of it. Sucks. Yeah. But it's part of it. Anyway, so Stacy, my assignment right now from Stacy is passive acceptance. Yeah. And I've read through your material on the website, which I love the website. By the way, you can tell a lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into that probably more ways than any of us will ever know.
A lot of work went in, yes, you bet.
And just to come out and just be so authentic, and that's just beautiful to me, But anyway, passive acceptance. So I thought maybe, I'd kind of hear you kind of talk that out a little bit.
Yeah.
Any advice on that, and then the other symptom that is really getting to me, and is the exhaustion. Yep. And if you could kind of talk me through, it's just, I know, like I read, I try to read, you put a post almost every day, on the site. So I try to read that. And, but yeah, the one time you were talking about, you can't just, it's good to do something because, your muscles, it's not good to lay around. And I know that for sure from nursing. Yeah. But it's like kind of how do you where's the balance there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's like I do one thing and oh my stars, I just got to go lay down.
Yeah. 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 Totally. Well, first off, thanks for your comments about the website. We appreciate them, and we're thrilled that people are finding them helpful. As you know, we are passionate about helping people get through this and return to their wonderful lives again. So it's great that you're finding it helpful. The passive acceptance, what can I say about it? It's darn hard at the beginning. First off, most anxious people aren't patient in the first place. I certainly wasn't. I was really
That's
impatient.
True story there.
Yeah. And as I was mentioning, earlier, that who wants to be struggling in life and have to wait for symptoms to go away, and especially when they take so darn long. So,
they're so miserable.
They can be, without question, yeah, and they can affect our life in very negative ways for a while. And so who wants to stay in that very long? But that is our lot. The more impatient we are and the faster we want them to go away, well, that just keeps our stress up, which means they don't go away. So the only option we really have is to just really passively accept them. And by that, as you know, what we mean is, yeah, they're there. I don't like them. Oh, well, I'll just have to live with them another day, and I'll look forward to when they go away. And that's about the end of it. Because if we despair about them, that's stress. If we stress about them, that's stress. And so both of those will keep them lingering. So that's not what we want to do. So being passively, accepting of them and living our life as best we can despite them is the only way we can do that. But initially, it's hard. As we work at it for a while, and if we've been dealing with symptoms for a long time, and we can get pretty good at it. It's just like, yeah, whatever. I don't care about there anymore, and I'll live within my restrictions for now. Just wait till they're gone. So we get better at it over the time. But if we're first starting, it's tough. It's a whole different shift in mindset. Also, as you know from your medical work, is that people want to get out of symptoms as fast as they can. Again, like I mentioned, who wouldn't? So we're dealing with symptoms, so it's kind of against our nature just to allow them to be there and not fret about them while we're slowly working out a recovery strategy so that they can go away. So it's certainly is a behavioral adjustment.
Is it common for some people, is it common for, like, some symptoms I just kind of, they don't really bother me. Yep. And other symptoms, I'm like, oh.
Yep. That's typically how it is. Each person will have their own symptom set that they really could care less about. And then there's certain symptoms that just, gets their goat and really is irritating. And it's going to vary from person to person. One person, it'll be muscle twitching. They can't stand it. It's just driving around the bend. When another person will say, yeah, muscle twitching is nothing. What are you worried about? It's my burning skin that's driving me crazy, or it's my ringing in the ear that I can't. Everyone's going to have a different thing that they react to, and so that's common. But from a passive acceptance standpoint, we have to accept them all. The ones we could care less about, and the ones that kind of bother us, we still have to just sort of take that. Oh well, they're there, and move on. And one of the things that really worked for me in my recovery, I got really good at that. There were some I really detested, and some I just said, yeah, whatever. But I adopted that. All right, you're just an anxiety. I call it a trick. Yeah, never mind. Whatever. And I was really good at passive acceptance.
But you always kind of acknowledged them, like, yes, they're here.
Yep.
And they suck.
Yep.
But I just have to put up with.
Yeah, you can't help acknowledge them because a lot of times they're quite bothersome. Yeah, and they take your attention away, and that's all that. But you say, yeah, I know what you are, and you're a symptom of stress. Never mind. And that was another thing that I did is when I realized I attached to stress, it's like, you're a symptom of stress, big deal. I'm working to get my stress done. I don't care. And so that really helped to change my opinion about them, taking them from, I can't stand them, these are awful, to, yeah, you're a symptom of stress. I don't like you, big deal. So passive acceptance, again, is tough initially, but it gets easier as we move on. No fast way to get there. Just experience. And the exhaustion, I think, is a good thing, especially if your body has been wired a lot. I would indulge it as best you can. Let your body rest, because that's what it needs. It's trying to give you what it needs, is rest. Now, there's two kinds of exhaustion. There's the exhaustion where we push the body so hard that the body has a muted response to stress. So even things that would normally be stressful, you really don't care about because the body's just not, reacting the same way. So that's an indication your body is really hyperstimulated and it's gone into that muted stress response mode. So that's exhaustion, and that'll take time to really work out of. And if you rest your body and rest your body and indulge it, eventually your body sort of catches its breath and then starts to build some energy again, and then it can respond normally. Then you have the better kind of exhaustion, if there's such a thing, and that's when you've been going, and you finally get a chance just to say, okay, I'm taking a break now, I'm just going to rest. And as you start to rest, your body's going to be exhausted, because that's a good thing, because that's an indication your body is able to quiet itself down to be so tired that you don't even want to move. And again, if you're just to indulge it and let that play out over the course of time, your body will eventually build up its energy and strength and stamina, and you'll start to feel better and better again. But sometimes both of those can take a very long time. We can't rush those, and I don't suggest rushing them either, right? So, if you are finally taking some time off, this exhaustion could be a really good sign that your body is able to gear down, which is a good. Would you say it's your body's, you're finally getting some time off, and as you're taking some time off, your body's now starting to feel quite tired?
Yeah. The exhaustion didn't hit until maybe probably maybe like a week after I gave notice.
Okay, sure. All right. So that's the better kind.
It just like, oh my God, like Jim, like my son doesn't feel good today. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, I still have to be a mother. And so I bought him McDonald's drive-through and gave him his pills. And it's like, and then I wanted to be on the Skype call this morning. I was like, I got to go lay down or I can't make it through the Skype call. Mm-hmm. It's just, I got to go lay down.
Yeah. Good for you. That's a good decision. Yeah. Indulge that
and
tiredness.
I try to break up tasks, say I'll say, okay, today, what do I need to do today? Well, I need to do this, this, and this. And so then I'll just say, okay, I'll lie down here, here, and here. Like I just plan it out. Like,
good.
Yeah,
that's good. I'm glad to hear that.
But I'm spending a lot of time in bed.
Oh, well.
I've watched every Hallmark movie known to man.
Yes, right. It's kind of boring after a while, doesn't it?
Well, because I can't watch. Stacy's like, you can't watch anything stimulating. Yeah. So I was like, yeah. Well, I guess the Hallmark Channel it is.
Yeah. And I'm glad to hear that, because again, every time you rest like that, you're giving your nervous system time to gear down. And while you may not feel like you're making any progress right now, your body is starting to heal, which is good. And you'll find you've only been at this a week. Sometimes exhaustion can last for a very long time. So if you've only been at this a week, feeling exhausted, just give yourself some time.
I've been at this probably 3 weeks. All
right. That's still not a long time for your body to recover from hyperstimulation, especially the degree that you were at. So indulge it. And
then if I try to push past, like I think, girl, you just can't spend every day in bed. I end up getting symptomatic, real bad symptomatic. Like my symptoms go through the roof.
Yeah. And again, well, you might be really familiar with this. Sometimes we have to be really good patients, right?
Stacy tells me that every session I have with him.
Yep.
Marguerite, you're the patient. You're intense and you're stubborn. You're the patient.
Yeah. You need time to heal. And so your body's letting you know what it needs and you're indulging it. That's great. We often sabotage that by being impatient, that we should be getting going, because that's our habit. We should be just going. And well, now we have to change that by recognizing your body's requesting time to recover. And so this is a good thing.
Like I couldn't do a 12-hour shift right now if I couldn't make it through it.
Yeah.
I couldn't. There's no way.
Yeah. Good. So good. And again, engage this. Let it come on and let you feel exhausted as long as it takes for your body to recover, because it will. Over the course of time, you'll start to get your energy back when the body's rested sufficiently enough. It's just a matter of time. And a mistake I see very often is people try to push it. They try to get going and way ahead of what the body's ready to do. And of course, that's going to slow down recovery. So, engage it.
My family's standing at my bed sometimes. They're like, Mom, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm just really tired. my husband has started cooking because to cook a meal is like, wow.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. It's a lot of work, especially when the body is, because really you're just burnt out. Your body is just
And that's
exhausted.
the term Stacy used, and I actually looked that up.
Hmm.
I don't do a whole lot of looking up because I can go down the rabbit hole real quick, and
Hmm.
so I don't do a whole lot of looking up stuff.
Yep.
And I probably just about exhausted the eye doctor and my doctor, so I can't go back there anymore.
Yeah.
I've wore them
Uh,
out.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Although I will say, the eye doctor used to really kind of be mean to me about those ocular migraines until he had one, and
Mm.
he had a whole different attitude.
Yep.
He had lots of questions for me.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Oh
Sucks when it
my.
happens to you, doesn't it?
Yeah, they're not
But
pleasant by any stretch, that's for
yeah, I
sure.
had two of those in one day. That was a bad day.
Oh my.
That was years ago, but
Oh yeah.
the darting eyes, where they're just like the nystagmus, and anyway,
Yep.
um,
Yep.
yeah. So I just like, well, all you got left, girl, is to just ride it out.
Yep. And that's it. And
But
that's
it's hard not to drift to how long and when, and I feel like crap. And
yeah. Yeah. I know, but this again, this is where you have to caution yourself. This is where you say, you know, my body needs this. It's letting me know what it needs, and I need to engage it. I need to give it what it needs so my body can recover. And when it's feeling recovered, then I'll get my energy back. I'll feel like getting up again. Now, you also asked a question about, balance. How do you keep this balance of not being in bed all day yet keeping your body fit at the same time? Well, that is by what you're doing. That's planning rest periods during the day. Plan to do things and then build in a rest period. Plan to do something else, then build in a rest period. If you want to go for a leisure walk, do that and then build in a rest period. It's alternating. It's really going to be helpful.
okay,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
kind of, yeah, golly, if I would walk 2 blocks right now, oh my stars, I'd be like,
Yeah.
run. I mean, it'd take all I could get to. So you think this is the good kind of anxiety? My body's like, yes, she finally listened.
Yeah. I think it's a good thing that your body's letting you know that it's tired and needs rest. Yeah. And
And
the
then I
good,
sleep terrible, I just
yeah.
sleep terrible. And then that's the flip side too. I have noticed here lately that I'll sleep all through the night,
Yeah.
and I'll be charged and ready to rock and roll. And Stacy's like, no, you got to ease off because you'll just send yourself back into. He's like, even on those days when you feel like you're really like, oh yeah, I feel great, I'm going to do
Yeah.
this and this and this. And he's like, you can't do that either because you'll just hyperstimulate yourself.
Yep. That's excellent advice. Again, you're in good hands with Stacy. He's very, very knowledgeable, super nice guy, and bang on. Because what another mistake we see often is when a person finally does get some rest and they have this energy, they go, 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 and then next thing you know, a couple of days later, they're crashing.
Oh,
Because
that's totally what happened to me. I had some of the worst symptoms that I could have ever had. It was
yeah,
terrible.
yep. So even though you feel that energy to go, go, you have to say, well, oh yeah, I understand what that is. That's probably just elevated cortisol wanting me to go because I got some rest, but I'm not going to engage in that. I'm going to do things moderately. You might want to do some activities, certainly to do things to burn that off, but not go, go, go. Need to limit that for sure. Yeah,
Is it also like the homeostasis concept where your body doesn't know how to keep its own equilibrium?
absolutely. Yep. You bet it. Homeostatic dysregulation is what we call it because the body's trying to find where normal is. And when it's wired, with hyperstimulation and, exhausted at the same time, it doesn't know where it is. So sometimes it can give you stuff you don't need. And sometimes it'll take away things you want. So it's going to be all over the map until your body settles and it's better regulated. Yeah.
And it's normal. I mean, gosh, I've been in bed for 4 days and I'm still,
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough. Golly, it's so, but you've seen this with people. I mean, this happens to people.
Tons and tons of times. Yeah. In fact, we wish more people would indulge that exhaustion phase because their body would heal faster. But a lot of times they just push through it because they're so used to going and accomplishing. Resting is not what they do. So in this case, this we always say,
It's
engage it.
funny you should It's funny you should mention that, because I was thinking today, about the Skype call, and I was remembering, in nursing, I would wake up exhausted. Like there was a couple times I fell asleep on my way to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I remember having that exhausted feeling. And I think it was my body trying to say, ease up, but I would just push past it, I've got to go to work. I've got to,
and and the body mobilizes stress hormones to push past that. So
and then if it doesn't do that, you can always get good old caffeine. Live off that for a 12-hour period.
Yeah, and as you know, caffeine brings about a stimulating effect by, guess what, stimulating stress hormones.
Oh, I know, because epinephrine does the same thing. I'm a frequent flyer at the dentist, and I had several panic attacks. They gave me epi, for the painkiller, and I got put on one-on-one with the dentist and all that. But anyway, it does. I'm caffeine stimulant free.
Yeah, good for you. Yeah,
I do a little bit more sugar than I should, but
yeah. Sugar's, not the greatest thing, but it's not awful. Stimulants are obviously the worst. But again, I would really encourage you to just engage that exhaustion, let itself play out, let your body build back its energy and strength naturally, and you'll feel much better in a while.
But it's bizarre because you're exhausted, but then I'm so symptomatic, I'm shaking, I'm sweating, my heart's at 120 beats per minute. I'm like buzzing around, but yet it's a bizarre feeling.
Yep. And that's one of the other effects of hyperstimulation, because hyperstimulation can affect the body in many ways, and not just cortisol. It's through, the increased electrical activity in the nervous system. Once that gets ramped up, away we go. And it also changes the relationship between GABA and glutamate. Glutamate's the excitation neurotransmitter. When that increases in GABA, which is the inhibitory transmitter, goes down, well, we're just wired. Even though cortisol might be, cortisol might be in the normal range. Yeah. So
your website.
So while your cortisol might be coming down to make you feel tired, well, all the other stuff is still going. We call that the wired but tired feeling.
Yeah, and you'd think, and then I sleep 4 hours, and I'm up, heart racing, walking the hall, back at it. And it's like, golly, it's a crazy. Shoot, if I wouldn't have had your website, I'd have probably, I don't know what I'd have done. Probably lost my mind, I guess. But yeah, it's a real weird, it's definitely a really bizarre feeling.
Yep. Yeah, really uncomfortable. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and the eye stuff, golly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I wonder, I've been doing, and I don't know if this is good or not. I think about, well, might need to find a different career. Because, just the minute I let myself go back to the hospital, how long will it be before I'm back?
Yeah. I would, if I wouldn't make a decision right now. Focus solely on recovery and see how you feel when your body has gained its strength and energy back.
Okay.
Because remember, the body is quite resilient. Once we're at normal health again, the body is quite resilient. It can take a lot of stress. But when we push it over the edge, then every little bit of stress can make a big difference. So I'd say give your body some time to rest and recover, then see how you feel about things. And there might be other options, for a medical professional rather than just working in the hospital.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I also heard you talk about, and I've only heard a couple times I probably listened to all your Skypes. You talk about how you had to totally change, even though you're recovered and you're healthy, if someone would put you in like a high stress job, or something, how long before you would get symptomatic? That is to say, I don't think I can go back to living the way I was, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think different things, not even just with the job, just like relational and just different, just the pace at which I'm trying to keep I see that this is not to say I can't recover from anxiety and I can't be okay, but I definitely need to have limit boundaries in place. I don't know a good way to describe what I'm saying. I just,
No, I agree with you. I mean,
I don't know what that looks like, but
well, that's the other thing. It's the unknown that sometimes is concerning for us because we don't know what that is. But with the help of, your therapist, he'll get you to that place where you'll have a good sense of healthy boundaries. You have a good sense of keeping yourself within a healthy range. Now, I'll admit, I don't keep myself within a healthy range as much as I should because I know what stress symptoms are. I probably push myself harder than most people do. I just don't really care. When I see symptoms start to spike up, I just back off for a while. So it's not really something I pay attention to. And if I was giving myself advice, I'd ask myself to dial back a bit. So you can still, once you recover, you can still push yourself quite hard. But I agree with you. But the question is, should you? Is that the kind of lifestyle you want to live?
not really, because this sucks.
Well, that particular, yeah, when you push yourself to that high degree of hyperstimulation, it really does suck. There's no question about it. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with you. And I push myself because I love what I do. And
Yeah.
we have certain things that we want to accomplish, and it just takes lots of hours sometimes. So for me, I enjoy it, but what I'm finding as I'm getting older, my body's not liking it as much. It's not as resilient just because of my age. So
Right.
I'm needing to make changes too. But you can still work hard at something you're passionate about, and that stress isn't going to bother you as long as you don't push it into the high hyperstimulation range. So that's why I say
Right.
maybe don't make your decision just yet. Give your body some time to recover and see how you feel after. Another thing you might want to do is you might want to, when you're ready, go back and see how you like it. And if you're there for a while and you think, you know what, it's not going to be very long before I'm back where I was, then you may have to make a decision. But give it some time.
Well, I read about that burnout because Stacy used that term too, and that actually they put that in the DSM
Mm,
about a few years ago. I didn't know that, but they don't call it burnout. They call it, I can't remember the technical term they use, but it's in the DSM.
mm.
And burnout can take actually years to recover from.
Well, because really what you're describing is hyperstimulation. It's when the body gets so wired, it changes how it functions. And you can, because when you think about it, adrenaline's pushing a lot of systems on high alert. And when you keep pushing them, they're going to take a toll. So we do, and when we use the term burnout, we just mean we just push ourselves way too hard, and the body's letting you know. So it's not, we don't use it in the clinical sense, but well, you're experiencing what happens when you push the body hard. It just doesn't like it, and it's going to let you know.
Yeah, I think I pushed past it, letting me know a lot of times, and it just gets worse.
Yeah, yeah, it sure does. Yeah. Yeah, I think one of the things I've gotten really good at over the years is knowing where my safe limits are. And when I reach that limit, then I will take appropriate action to back it off. So I've really kept my stress within a healthy range over the course of time, despite the long hours I put in. And so again, when a person's recovered, it doesn't mean you have to live a docile life and one not filled with passion. You still can. It's just that you just become wiser about the limits you push yourself to.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying for sure.
Yeah.
Which is healthy. Healthy people probably naturally do that.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I can't have jam-packed crazy day after crazy day and not take a break at some point.
Yep. Yeah. And you're right. Healthy people know their limits and they know how to manage them. For example, successful business leaders, they work long hours, but they also take numerous breaks throughout the course of the year, take holidays, just time to decompress. Whereas anxious people typically don't do that. We just think we have to push, push, push all the time. Well, the body doesn't like that.
I like what you said the last time I talked to you. I thought a lot about that, that the body doesn't like that. And then we run up to the doctor and we get a fresh load of pills
Yeah.
to try to keep us going. And then when we burn through all that. And then, I mean, if people, God, I wish in some ways being a nurse has been helpful for me with this condition. because I see the truckload of the meds the doctors are on. I mean, people just act like they're just like doing all great. And it's like, no, they're not.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, they're just masking the pain, aren't they?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. In fact, when I had one of the worst panic attacks during this whole thing that I had, it was because one of the gals from work called me, a doctor, and I mean, she's basically like, well, anxiety's no reason to quit nursing, and just get on, have you tried Cymbalta? Get on some Cymbalta. It's like, leave me alone.
Yeah.
I take two, Marguerite, I take two, all this and that. And I'm like, oh gosh.
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
Thanks, but no thanks. It's just.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what? I mean.
Yeah. And the sad thing too is, while they might be masking their symptoms in the short term, a lot of those medications have long-term health consequences that catch up to you when you get into your 60s and 70s.
This is true. And, I look at her and I look at how heavy, which I'm heavy too, which I attribute to eating poorly because I'm stressed out of my mind.
Yeah.
And, but I look at her and I'm like, girl, you're, knee replacements, you're 150 pounds overweight, you're,
Yeah.
your hair's falling out. I mean,
Yeah.
That's your body, yeah, you just come up with one pill after another, but that's your body like, hey,
Yeah.
we're,
Yeah. And it's sad
and so many things at the hospital that they treat that are actually anxiety.
Yes. Yeah.
And I've thought about that a lot since I have so much time to think because I'm laying in my bed.
Yes.
But, the whole time I went to the eye doctor, I had never been to the eye doctor in my life. And I went to all these appointments and they said, oh, you have this birth defect. That's why your eyes are not wanting to focus. And, the words are all over the page. And you have this birth defect and we have to give you these plain old prescription with Prism in it. And that'll correct everything, which it didn't.
Yeah.
And I had 20/10 vision, by the way. And so the fact that you can see so far away, that, just being on, which my eyes do get tired with the screen and that kind of stuff. But anyway, they never once mentioned anxiety.
Yeah. Yeah.
They never once. I've been to the ER for all kinds of stuff, and they never once mentioned, not one time did they mention anxiety.
Yeah. 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 Sadly, the medical profession, very few in it understands anxiety. We've had a lot of doctors go through us and the medical directors go through us, and they were all surprised how much they didn't know. So, yeah.
My family practice doctor, God love him, he's probably took the brunt of my anxiety.
You probably educated him.
He's probably, poor guy. He was the one, I was like, I got a brain tumor. You're going to have to check me. I got a brain tumor. And he's like, he's like, I'm not checking you for that. I said, what do you mean you're not checking me for that? He goes, you have anxiety, Marguerite. You are an anxious person. I said, stop telling me I'm an anxious person. I'm telling you I have symptoms and I need you to check them all out. And he's like, I'm not running any tests on you. Yeah. You need help.
Yeah.
And even though I wanted to kill him that day, that was probably the best thing. I wanted to kill him. Yeah. That was probably one of the best things that could have ever happened to me. Because had I gone to the other doctor, holy smoke, she'd have had me on. Who know, and then they start doing all the tests, and then you just build up this crazy in your mind, this crazy, I call it the symptom story.
Yeah.
Where it's like this symptom is caused by that and this and something else and something else. It's really anxiety, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
The symptom, I call it the symptom story.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a good definition for it for sure, because that's what we all do.
And it's craziness. I mean, and they believe everything they're telling you. And it's like, it's just, honey, this just isn't true. I mean, you're having anxiety, but in your mind, these symptoms are so bizarre and so weird and so intense. It's like, well, surely I got to have something bad wrong.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And then we convince ourselves that it's true, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and then you get the symptom story going, and then you just get sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker. That's real bad. That's why I don't look anything up.
Yeah.
I just don't look anything up anymore.
Good for you. That's yeah. Well, now that you know what they are, yeah, the best thing you do is focus on resting your body. Plain and simple. Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, the thankfully I did have a good family practice. In fact, when I went in and told him, I said, I'm getting bad again, doc. I'm getting symptoms again. And he looks at me and he goes, well, Marguerite, medications usually don't work for you. I was like, nope. You've given me several anaphylactic reactions. Nope, they don't work. And he's like, what usually works for you is rest. And I said, I've been trying to tell you guys that for years.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh
You gotta
my.
laugh about it a little or you lose your mind,
You
know?
do, yeah. You have to find the humor in it.
Sometimes
Yeah.
I do kind of, like I broke my ankle and I had a panic attack at the hospital and the surgeon was going to do surgery on me and I had a panic attack and so I left.
Mm,
Stacy laughed and laughed about that.
yeah.
It's like, you left? I said, yeah, I just bolted out of there.
Not an uncommon situation, I don't think.
That happens? You've heard of that
Oh
before?
yeah, 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 yeah. Especially
I was
when,
like,
yeah, especially when panic is something a person's afraid of.
oh, I had a complete panic attack. I jumped in my wheelchair and I wheeled myself out of the hospital.
Oh my. Yeah, yeah. Oh, jeez.
But I mean, I didn't have, I just, I wasn't doing real good. And then I looked down and the surgeon had blood and guts all over him. And I was like, I'm out.
Yeah.
The nurse was
Oh
chasing
my.
me down.
Oh
Anyway,
my.
yeah, you gotta find some humor in it or you'll
Yeah, yeah.
definitely lose your mind. But it's also been interesting. I'm able to see the anxiety, not just in myself, but also in some of my friends,
Oh yeah.
especially the symptom story. It's like,
Yep.
well, I had this happen and then they did this test and then that and something else. And it's like, I think you're having anxiety.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. You'll get familiar with it when you see it in others. Yeah, for sure.
Really?
Oh yeah, yeah. As you see it in yourself, you'll see more in others. Yeah. A lot of people struggle with anxiety. Yeah.
What would you attribute to that? What would you attribute to, I mean, to the rapid increase in anxiety?
Oh, there's a lot of factors. It's been growing exponentially over the last 10, 20 years for sure. And a lot of it comes from the messaging we get. Family structure has changed. Parents aren't around as much as they used to. So where do children get their security from if it's not being taught? So they have to develop it. And the best way for them to develop it on their own is to make up ways to do it themselves. So, of course, when we establish fears and threats at an early age, we just carry them forward into life. So part of it's the disintegration of the family structure. We've got broken families now. When a child loses a parent in divorce, they lose the security. And of course, when you lose security, then what's left? Well, you got the risk. So then they move to an anxiety side. You've got that. You've got the I generation now. Everything's, done in a hurry. You get what you want. There's just so many factors as to why society's headed down the anxious trail. And it's all conditioning, right from the get-go. And there's just so many things that need to change. Yeah, and it's only going to get worse. I feel bad for the younger generations who are going to struggle harder than our generation is, just because so many things are working against them at an early age. How do you cope with everything now? For example, I'm, coming 68 this year. When I was growing up, we had, 2 channels on TV that you got the daily news, and that was about it. Well, now
And
as a child,
snow after 11.
that's right. Yeah, yeah. You didn't have TV, and we didn't have phones. So when we went to bed, we went to bed. And you didn't have, you know, for me, I bonded with my parents because they were my closest, friends and relationships at that time. Well, now children are bonding with children. So you don't have a role model for children to bond with. So you have children who are trying to figure things out by themselves. And so, again, the world can look very dangerous that way if you don't have, strong supports. Just lots of things going on. And then, of course, you have the proliferation of recreational drugs. And, people are trying to escape
recreational
reality.
drugs. Hell, the doctors are giving out just as much stuff.
I
The
know.
opiate crisis far exceeds the heroin
Yep.
drug, the street drugs.
Yep.
Opiate crisis, which I don't know if Canada has it as much. America has staggering statistics on the opiate crisis.
Yep. Yeah, you bet. Yeah. And
I was blown away when they gave my child Percocet 5 when he got his wisdom teeth taken out.
Wow. Yeah.
They kicked me out of there with a Motrin and said, "Don't chew anything hard. Don't use
Yes.
straw."
That's right. Yeah, I know.
They kicked him out with a bottle of Percocet. I was blown away.
Yeah.
I mean, he probably had, I want to say he had 30 or 40 Percocet 5s.
Wow. That's amazing.
Blew me away. I mean, in fact, his good friend at the time, his mom was a pharmacist, and she took him away.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Good. Yeah, that's a good plan. I was on Percocet when I had my hip replaced, and I was on it for just, I think it was like 7 days. Wow, did I have a hard time coming off of that? Pretty surprised.
The Percocet.
Yeah. 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 I was freezing and sweating at the same time for 2 days.
You throw in the Xanax.
Yep. Yeah, and all the antidepressants and all the mood stabilizers. I mean, yeah, it's just a different world today. So,
which I'm not against. I mean, I'm not against drugs. I mean, sure, if somebody hadn't been to bed in 3 days, you're going to have to do something. I mean, I get you acutely, or somebody, I mean, I get you, but
yeah. Yeah.
I broke my ankle, and within 2 days, I had 90 Percocets. I'm like, that's incredible.
Yeah. I know.
I'm like, that's why I called some of my nurse friends. They're like, well, that's why everybody's addicted. They're like, that's why everybody comes to the hospital and they want Percocet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then these people, they don't know how powerfully addicted these medications are.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And so they get hooked,
the doctor gave it to me. It's my medicine.
It's your medicine. Yeah. 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 It's just so many things, and I just don't see it getting better anytime soon, which is the problem. Yeah.
Well, now the big push is, they're doing all these contracts, and anyway, but yeah, I know. I don't fool a whole lot with that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not, like I said, I have polycystic ovaries, and so I take a little bit of medicine for that every day, and I'm not against medicine, but
yeah, I mean, there's certain
applications. Getting into the pain pills and the psych meds and all that, you gotta.
Yep. Yeah. Medicine has its place in certain situations for sure, absolutely, but I think it's just way overprescribed now, and the society becomes sort of. And then when you throw in the way society now is, how their feelings are hurt by so many different things. Everything's they're offended by something. Well, when you look at anxiety, we have to build resilience. We have to face adversity and work through it, not be afraid of it or be offended by everything. It's just so many things all coming together that's just not good for society, in my opinion.
I read one of your articles on your site about the just right thinking. That anxiety people and I can see that myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Stacy wrote that, actually.
Stacy did?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to feel just right all the time versus, I saw this especially when I worked at the surgery center. The people that were like, let's say they were like 85 and above, it's been a few years, but they were like 80 plus. Then people would get a hip or a knee, and they would just take Tylenol. I mean, I would just be like, ma'am, can I get you something? They're like, no, just, honey, I don't want any of those pain pills. Just bring me Tylenol. I knew it was going to hurt. That's what I signed up for. Yep. And you just be like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they were from a whole different, they'd probably be people in their 90s now. They were just from a whole different world. I mean, they just.
Yeah. Well, that generation had to persevere and they had to endure hardships. So they became used to it. So, and later in life, when they had to do the same thing, it was no big deal. When you look at anxiety, a large portion of that for a lot of people is they don't feel equipped to endure hardship. So they worry about it. Well, the older generations were comfortable with hardship because they had to work through it. Well, the younger generations haven't had to work through hardships, so it scares them. So you see where a whole different level of anxiety is coming from. I'm not saying this is you, but we see this in a lot of the younger generation coming up.
I see this in myself,
Because again, look at the 3 factors of fear. Something's really bad's going to happen to me. It's imminent, and there's nothing I can do about it. If you remove any one of those, you're going to reduce fear. Well, if you have a mindset that says, I don't really care what comes my way, I'm going to be fine, I'm going to do this, you've eliminated the fear. But the younger generation doesn't have that anymore. At least a lot of them don't anyways. And
well, we've been medicated. We've been medicated since, every little thing you got medicated for.
Either medicated or, guarded against, guarded against, difference of opinion, guarding against things that you don't like. If you don't like it,
everybody gets a trophy.
Exactly. So we haven't built resilience in the younger generation, so they're going to struggle harder. Then throw in the milder recreational drugs. It's like, yeah, it's just like a storm ready to happen. And hopefully I'm being over dramatic here. I hope it's not going to be that way, but the way things are looking, it's just not looking good. There's going to be a lot of mental health stuff coming up.
Well, we talk about that a lot in the hospital. We'd rather take care of the people that are, unless they have dementia, that's a different story. But the older generation, I mean, they're just, the really older generation, people that are in like they're 80 plus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I was a man that I took care of that was 102.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, I said, well, it's like, well, I got a headache. And he's like, I said, well, what do you want me to bring you? And he's like, nothing, I'll be fine. But versus, people that are, they're like, oh, I got to have this this and that and something else medication,
Yeah. 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 So our therapists are preparing for what could possibly be a major thing. Hopefully, things change. But one of the things that we really tout is developing resilience, getting used to working through hardship, getting used to pain and discomfort. As you know, as you get older, you have a lot of pain and discomfort, so these things will build character, and they'll also reduce anxiety and stress, and also a lot of depression too. But that's character work. It's behavioral work, which isn't easy.
Yeah. And going against societal norms.
Yep. And
because I've taken a lot of flack doing the anxiety center route.
Yeah, I'm sure you have. Yeah, especially from a medical perspective. Yeah.
Oh, they just well, how come none of the doctors that y'all have taken care of have endorsed your site? Yeah. Because if they came out, it would be heretical.
Yep. Oh, totally. Yeah. I think things are starting to change now. Like your doctor is a good example. We have a fabulous doctor, the same thing.
But he's a young doctor. I mean, he's not young. I mean, he's not really young. He's a little younger than me, but he's, a little younger doctor. And he's not a pill machine.
Yep. And so there is that trend that's coming, looking at more holistic ways of helping people deal with these things rather than just a medication route. Yeah.
He was the one that told me, I said, after I had anaphylaxis to Zoloft, he was the one, I said, do I have to take medication? And he said, no, you don't have to take medication for this. I said, then why are they wanting to put me on all this stuff?
Yeah. You have an advantage here too, being in the medical profession yourself. When you work at your recovery, you'll have that personal experience to help others doing the same thing, because you see it so often in your profession. So you can be a real, shining star in that environment to help people learn how to deal with this the right way, right?
I hope so.
But you have to be patient.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I feel bad because I don't know if I can say this. I guess I can say this on your website, but when they're young and they start putting them on all the pills, it's doing something to them because they just never get off the pills.
Yeah. Yeah,
they just never do.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah.
I mean, you can't even, in fact, matter of fact, they'll come in and they'll be having real serious panic. I mean, really bad panic attacks,
Yeah.
And we just can't even, we give them IV stuff and we just can't even give them enough stuff. The panic attack just has to wear off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're so used to taking stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's conditioning too, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like we're giving them Ativan after Geodon and it doesn't, the panic attack just has to wear off. The meds don't even work on it.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Well, I saw that a lot, actually.
It is common.
Where the Ativan, IV Ativan, 0.5 milligrams IV Ativan did nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're 16.
Yeah. I mean, fortunately for the younger generations, they are seeking, we do see a trend now, they're seeking more natural solutions to these things. So that's a good thing. They're more open-minded to the natural route. But there is, a certain group, of course, who have been trained to trust in the medication to help them, which, as you know, doesn't really help them.
Like alcohol withdrawal, we would get people in that, those old boys, them old guys, they come in and they're like, God, this sucks. And most of them just kind of ride it out, and we get those guys in that are 24 and they're like, you got to give me, I want the Cyrax. I need the Cyrax. You got to give me that right away. I'm going to have and they're having panic attacks, but they're telling them it's alcohol withdrawal. I'm like, they're not withdrawing from alcohol. They're having a panic attack.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they give them the Cyrax and all that. But those old timers would come in and they just would take it.
Yeah. 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 So one of the things we can do as parents to help the younger generation is to teach them resilience and perseverance, and that hardship is a part of life, and it's not something that we need to medicate away or, reject. It's part of the life experience, and the earlier we teach them, the earlier they develop their skills, and the less likely they are to develop mental health issues down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's good and, not so good news, and it's certainly going to depend. One thing that we've noticed is that, especially with search engines, Google, we've lost our rankings. I think I mentioned this in another Skype call because, we do, really advocate for the natural approach, and we aren't advocating for the pharmaceutical approach. So if you look at their search results when you search in anxiety, most of them are medical sites.
Because they're getting kickbacks, probably.
Well, they have partnerships now with Google. One of Google's plans years ago was to partner with medical sites to provide online medical assistance. But a lot of it is, the recommendation is medication. Sure, they recommend counseling, but it's, one of the list. Whereas, as you know, medication doesn't solve the anxiety problem. It just, helps people with symptoms, and only a third of them. So.
Like I said, I'm not against drugs. I have a brother that has real severe paranoid schizophrenia. Mm-hmm. I am so grateful for the medications that he has.
Yep. Yep.
But you know what? I'm going to tell you something. He takes less stuff than a lot of these people out here.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just shocking. I mean, seriously. He has severe paranoid schizophrenia. And you know what? He takes less drugs than a lot of the people I see at the hospital.
Yeah. 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 That doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
I mean, because there's like, oh, I bet your brother's on a lot of stuff. And I was like, actually, he's only on like a few things.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, there's certain things that medication is wonderful for.
But and you know what they treat anxiety with? Because he gets anxious sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Benadryl. They don't give him the benzos.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's a good thing. Yeah. A lot of people respond well to Benadryl, yeah.
They sure do give him a Benadryl.
Yeah. I had clients who were taking Benadryl for their anxiety. And, of course, they also had allergies, so they were used to it. I do.
Every once in a while, if my anxiety is just off the charts, I'll take some Benadryl.
Yeah. Well, hopefully now, with your exhaustion state, you indulge it and you give your body sufficient time to rest and gear down. And over the course of time, you'll feel better and better and better. That won't be an issue any longer. But you have to make sure you persevere. Again, a mistake we see is people will rest and rest and rest, and they start to feel better, and then they go right back to where they were. busy, 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 getting all these things done because it feels good to be back into life. But again, they just forget about, well, your body still needs time to recover. Just because you feel better doesn't mean your body's all the way back to normal yet. So you got to really be patient. Let your body recover.
Stacy will help me navigate that.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. You're in good hands with Stacy. He knows what's going on here. But yeah, you might want to sure listen to him. Don't let the impatience sort of override, your body's wanting to complete recovery.
Yeah, I mean, I told him about the exhaustion, and he was like, you're just gonna have to put up with it.
Yep, yep, you bet. Indulge it, welcome it, because it is healing. That's a healing thing for the body, so you want to engage it. Yeah, indulge it as much as you can.
I like to hear you say that, Jim. I do. That gives me encouragement.
You'll have to repeat that to yourself when you want to get going or you think you should get going. Yeah.
So look at it as a restorative healing state.
Yep. Your body's wanting this. You're giving it what it needs. And so it's going to be happy. You just have to wait, for your body to catch up to the healing effects of it.
I do take fish oil and some B vitamins. I do take that.
Mm-hmm. If you have time and, if it's something you might be interested in, I would recommend connecting with Liliana Tosic. She's a nutrition science practitioner.
I don't think she has any openings. I've checked her a few times.
If you send an appointment request through, she generally takes them. Now, I know her time is really booked up because she's also looking after a failing parent. And she's the sole care support for that parent, so she's doing things as best she can. But she might be able to give you some information too about, natural ways to help the body restore quicker, nutritional way, to get the body's energy back faster than just resting. Because as you know, when the body's hyperly stressed, it's going to be burning out nutrients really quick, and sometimes we can run into a deficit there. And while we're still...
And the diarrhea.
Well, if you're having diarrhea too, of course, you're going to be losing nutrients. And so there's things that nutritionally you can do to help the body build its energy back faster than just resting.
All right. I'll send her a message on the Anxiety Center
website. And I see the appointment requests as they come through. I'll just make a note to her that you and I have spoken. And if she could fit you in, that would be appreciated. But again...
Even for just a few sessions, just to get me going.
Yeah, just to hear what you're doing, and she can make some suggestions. She's just a whole wonderful person filled with so much knowledge. She is just a brainiac, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's really smart about nutrition. She's helped my wife and myself overcome some stuff years ago that we didn't know about that information. She provided to us and made a world of difference. So, yeah, she's just a wonderful person to work with. Again, the problem with her is that her schedule is usually booked and she's working with her, failing parents. So tough times for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah.
But send the note through and we'll make sure she gets it.
Were there any when you were recovering, were there any relationships that you kind of had to nix a little bit?
Unfortunately, quite a few. I was a major people pleaser.
That's my third one, I think.
Yeah. And some I deliberately nixed because they were just toxic right from the get-go. But others, sometimes they fell away when I started applying healthy boundaries. I was sad to see them go as a friend, but I wasn't sad to see all that stress go. So it's, a trade-off. Made a world of difference. Yeah. Yeah, I would suggest if you're talking about boundaries with Stacy now, give it some time for your body to rebuild before you start applying them, if you have to apply them on close relationships, because that can be stressful.
It is stressful. I was on the phone with somebody and she's going through the symptom saga. And she's like, Margaret, I think you had this and you should go to the endocrinology. And I'm like, I'm not going. Yeah. I said, this is stressing me out. I don't want to hear about this. I don't want to talk about this.
Yeah.
I spend a large part of my day trying to not think about my symptoms.
Yeah. It's also easy. It's also easy too when we're in the exhaustion mode to wanting to do things. So we do talk with others, but we really have to monitor which conversations we have, because it's easy to get stirred up from a conversation, even though we're trying to rest the body.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that takes me about a day or two to dig out of.
Yep. Yeah. So
Really, like, I'm not exaggerating. Like, that takes me, golly, one good membered friend that wants to tell me about going to the endocrinologist and getting thus and so test and something else, and my friend and Facebook channel. I mean, that's 2 days for me.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Literally, that's 2 days.
Yeah. You bet. Yeah. 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 Margie, thanks so much. I wish
Thank
you all the
you.
best in the
Thank you,
next
Jim.
weeks ahead, and I look forward to your update.
You're sweet. Thank you so much.
Well, God bless you, and we'll talk next time, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.